Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a minute to respond to a question I got regarding what is operant conditioning. And again, one thing to understand about dogs, how their mind is governed and influenced, is to understand that everything filters through relationally. No matter what concept you're approaching training as, you still have to consider the motives of the dog. And again, through these roadmaps, where basically what you're doing is, again, it's all about trying to set in motion a certain picture of things, trying to get the dog to consistently do whatever it is. And conditioning really follows the premise of repetition, reward, to reinforce somehow through using a motivating agent to do that reward, the response, okay, and doing it over and over and over again through repetition. And this is the conditioning. This follows a conditioning approach. Again, it's still learning. It still falls within the learning narrative. But again, what trainers do is they don't assess motive. So here's the thing: when things are coming off the rails, trainers can't figure out why, because it's a one-dimensional way of thinking. You know, kind of like garbage in, garbage out. And again, there's no depth to it, because again, the basic thing, always keep in your hip pocket, this is really important, whether it's any sort of conditioning model, whether it's counter conditioning, whatever it is, you have to put the issue of motives in your back pocket to understand even why dogs, through counter conditioning, will accept. And see, these behaviors talking about changing the emotional state of the dog. Well, no, you're still dealing with motives, okay? The reasons why dogs accept. You can frame up into putting the person in a position of weakness, okay? This devaluation issue, this rotten motive problem, and control issues, okay? So it's really deceiving, but again, I would encourage people, do not follow this within this learning narrative. It can set up problems. It could work out just fine for you. Relational change can happen, but the problem is the trainers are not looking at it that way. So here's the big issue: when it doesn't work out, they can't comprehend why, because see, they're not looking at this properly. So again, you have to. It's like a formula, okay? It's like if you look at learning based, they in that formula they leave out the most important part of the formula. It's to do with the motives of the dog. That's not in their equation, okay? That's absent. And so this is why when there's a bad, when the formula doesn't work out, they can't figure it out. Okay, so just understand that there are some twists and turns here. Again, but it's relational. Twists and turns means that, again, the personality of the person. Okay, it's all, but understand everything filters through relationally. So again, I would just encourage people to not follow that roadmap, because again, you get into that, you got problems, because again, there's a better way. There's a better approach. That's to make sure that you approach training for what is a relational changing process. Really look at how I do it. Okay, it's very intentional to make sure that you're not ignoring the motives of the dog. You have to make sure it aligns, because again, when you're doing this stuff, understand when you're approaching training, when people need help and they're in a deficit, the motives are rotten, you got control issues, you start approaching training within this narrative, you can have serious problems. So anyway, thanks for watching.